Hello, the scene of the video is from books redesign a pace. In our, in our days, the responsibility of the publishing industry is distributed among many people. But when American people start publishing books, often one person did all the work aboard the Mayflower in 1620. There were two dogs, 70 adults, and only a few books. The immigrants were very practical. They ran with the map, Virginia, and description of the New England by John Smith, but the most important books they ran were their Bibles. The first books that were in the United States were important programs in the New Zealand and England after their arrival. In 1638, the colonists established a printing press in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and in 1640, they printed the American book, the Bison Book. The Green published sailor in the last quarter of the 18th century, a revolutionary pamphlet of Thomas Paine common sense, in which it was proposed that the United States abroad become independent of Great Britain. Historian Rex Benjamin Franklin with the publication of Pamela de Samuel Richards in 1744, the first novel published in the United States. Of the novella, for example, did not start their story with good reputation, and all written making of the novel corruption of imagination. It was women who wrote a third of the innocent production of American fiction, and it was women who bought many of Texan works. Texan category of humor has been the most durable of the book publication of the era the humorist Mark Twain. One reason that is his book sold well is that was the first American record in the importance of review adverts. Before 1891, publishers were legally obligated to pay royalty an American author, but not foreign one. The international copyright law 1891 was enacted. All foreign and American authors should authorizing the publication their books. The publishers in the 19th century, they were Johnson tax books published house. Texan pioneering companies carrying an older one of the process related to edition. They located for authors, the revising and editing manuscripts, and they writing and sold the books. In 1931 of the stars, the United States had a well-leading passing laws the imposing compulsory education. This legal framework was very important for publishers because schools bought textbooks, and with education people are read. The first worker of the 20th century allowed the appearance of more publisher houses, such as Simon and Sorkin and McGraw-Hill, to meet the needs of the public. Reading Public represents door-to-door sales agency to reach people who could not buy book and any other way. The Book of the Month Club was founded in 1926 and the Lettering Will 1927. In 1939, Robert the Brown introduced the first American series of the paperback book of the best-selling works, called Fox Book, which included the titles that are rarely been successful in hardback sales. The paperback books were very cheap and fit in pocketing a bag. Suddenly, a literary work could reach millions of people who had never had a book before. The American publisher have always opposed any government attempt to limit freedom of expression. One, the first publisher to see limiting was Grove Race in 1959. The company published Lady Charlotte Lover, the novel Lawrence, which contained explicit sex vaccine. In 1961, he launched Broken of Cancer by Henry Miller. The edition of Book in Action. Books should not only be read, but also reading promoted and sold. This whole process led a last 18 months since the project is destined to be the publisher, until which book is published, so publishers are always working forward. Publishers pay the authors a royalty for the work. A royalty is a amount based a percentage established on the rate of the book, which can range from 60 or fixing the price of the book. Some authors receive of agency, which in a month vary by an editor to author before publishing a book. The literary agents that present author charge a commission or to their representative. In general, the commission and agency rank between 70 on fixing or the paying releasing of the author. How are the book publishing? The author submitting the proposal of a book to director of acquisition of the publisher, usually accompanied by a general summary of the work and some chapters. The director of acquisition looks for the potential author and projects and establishes agreement with each one of them. Its most important role is to serve a link between the author, the publishing company, and the reader of the book. The production manager of the overseeing all staging ranking will a double spending typewriting manuscript become a book. The decide how a book will look both the cover and the icing paints. He chose type and letter and determined how the illustration, box, title, and subtitle will look and where the color will be used. The manufacturing supervision acquiring the servicing of composition paper and writing of the book. Marketing, often the most expensive activity of creation. A book is inherited by several different departments. The advertising designates book as the promotion, send the book to a ballot, sales representative visit library and university campus to sell a potential buyer and user of the book. The boarding department ensuring that the books arrive on time of the bookstore. The publishing industry has five main markets. Commercial 1. Commercial book. Commercial books are designed for the general public and are usually sold in the bookstores and libraries. The books include hardcover edition and paperback for children and adults. They usually train its book, including for or fiction, contemporary essay, bibliography, music, classifying author of literature, cookbooks, travel book, art book, and newspaper, poetry, and theater. 2. Textbooks. Textbooks are published for elementary and middle school students while for university students. 3. Religion books. Hymn books, Bible and prayer books are included in the category of religion book. 4. Bucket book for the mass market. Textbooks are defined not by their books but by the place where they are sold. Also, it is also possible to find them bookstores. Books for the mass market are distributed mainly trunk mass channels, such as newspaper stands, chain stores, pharmacies, and supermarkets. 5. Books. The book for university reading present and for reading clubs. University reading clubs publish a limited number for titles every year, which are defined solely by the entity that published a university printing book is one that publishes a university printing press. The audiobook is introduced in 1980. Four publishers are categories that have incremented sales. 10 editions of the audiobook, including classical and new popular titles, are presented on compact disc for people who are willing to listen content a books rather than reading. The mission is Google Book Project, based on which contracts have been established with libraries to electronically copy the content of the books they have, so they are available only on the end. The publication of books with vegan and simply why the United States but is still a boxing event romantic idea is complex corporate industries. Well, this has been as we see in the next video. Bye!